Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
You heard the rest. Now here's the best. Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, back again with some more sports coming back. Some more sports, I guess that's how you could say it. But yeah, hockey's back. This past weekend kicked off. Baseball started last middle of the week, still around somehow, even though there's more positive tests coming up with the Cardinals and I think the Brewers were the other team too. But and a little bit of football talk too. The opt-out letter has been official, so I'm recording right now Wednesday. The opt-out deadline is Thursday, which you'll be listening to the show by that point. So we'll have a better idea of who's going to be playing this year, who's not going to be, how shitty is football going to be, all that lovely stuff. But before we get all into the show, head over to Twitter, follow us there at ST Sports Podcast, as well as our Facebook page, like and share that, and our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that. Also, show our website a little bit of love, staytunesports.net. Head over there. We got a link for merchandise. I'm working on possibly another spot we could go to for hats and other things other than just t-shirts. I know a couple of people have messaged me about hats and other things like that, and especially with the COVID going on right now, I'm gonna try to make gator masks for everyone to wear. I'll be wearing it at work. So, but like I said, this past weekend, hockey is back officially. No more exhibition games, all that happy stuff that kind of like, wet the whistle a little bit, if you want to call it that, last week. But this past Saturday, my lovely Flyers defeated the Boston Bruins 4-1. I watched the whole game. I watched the Rangers game as well. And first thing that I want to say about that game too, the first one, was glad they're not shying away from fighting or major hits and stuff like that because of, you'll get this, you spit on me, that type of deal. I'm glad to see it's still hockey. But like I said, my Flyers playing the Bruins. First period, kind of looked like still a little bit of rust. Bruins the whole game just didn't look like they had it. It seemed like they were missing a gear in a way. And even though it was a round robin, I know a couple of the commentators said that even though it's a round robin, there's still some stuff at stake. This is not just a preseason game. And I just wonder if the Bruins were thinking that, because the top four teams basically are going to be playing each other to be reseeded. So right now the Flyers are the 4th seed. Boston Bruins were number 1. Flyers play the Capitals Thursday night, with Brian Elliott is going to get the start, which I guess I'm okay with, even though I just said it's just a round robin game. Still some stuff, valuable stuff, if you want to call it that. I would have thought maybe Carter Hart may have gotten another start, but he looked really great on Saturday against the Bruins. Stopped 34 shots, and some of them were some good saves. Second period came along, and we ended up going up 2-0. And it was kind of funny because NBC kind of came across as being biased towards the Bruins because third period came and Bruins scored, made it 2-1. As soon as that happened, they put the virtual fans up on the screen. I guess, being at their house on their webcams or whatever. Obviously being upset that they just gave up a goal. But out of the 4 goals that the Flyers scored, not once were the Boston fans put on TV. What the hell? What the hell, NBC? But a couple of things that I did take away from the game was second period on, the Flyers definitely seemed like they started to hit their groove, because I'm used to the past couple of years, the Flyers, once they give up a goal, they lose that momentum and the floodgates basically open. Now, granted, it definitely a plus that we have a goalie in Carter Hart now, not Steve Mason, or even though Brian Elliott's still on the team, he's not a bona fide number 1 guy. He's a backup. Let's call a spade a spade. He's a backup. But to see the Bruins score and then literally like 10, 15 seconds later, Philip Myers just blast one into the net. That was nice to see. So I know Ron Hextall got a lot of shit when he was our GM for preaching, patience. We gotta be patient here, this and that. But dude knows how to draft. I mean, our defense was terrible for a few years. We haven't had a goalie since probably Ron Hextall. And now it seems like we finally are shoring up all the weaknesses. So we'll be curious to see how they do against the Capitals. If they could put the same type of energy out in the second and third period the rest of the way through the playoffs, and Hart plays lights out like he did Saturday, it's almost like we didn't miss a beat. Now, some other news from hockey. Now, obviously, the show comes out every Thursday morning. Hockey started Saturday, and already we have a team eliminated. I just want to say I'm sorry to our good friend King's girlfriend, who's a Rangers fan. They are finally, I shouldn't even say finally, they never really even showed up, but they're out of the playoffs. They got swept by the Jesus Christ, the Hurricanes. I'm going to think for a second there. So they are sitting on the couch next to New Jersey Devils, which is obviously King's favorite team. But and then I think they're playing right now tonight. The New York Islanders are leading the Panthers 2-1 in the series after the Panthers won today. So starting to slowly get to the nitty gritty with these best of 5 rounds. So I believe the way the round robin is, they're going to play 3 games this week. So they played Saturday, played Thursday. For as far as the Flyers, because there's 2 games I believe going on tonight for the round robin as well, and then probably the weekend would be the final for the round robin. Just been a busy week for me at work, so I really haven't been able to see what the schedule was set up for the hockey. But one bad piece of news for the Flyers though was Michael Raffl got injured on a. I don't think it was a dirty play. I think it just was an unfortunate play. I can't remember which Bruins player did, but a Bruins player came up behind him when he was trying to get the puck away from the board, and basically had his feet taken out from underneath him and crashed into the board awkwardly. Stayed down for quite a while before the refs finally blew the play dead. Had to be helped off the ice. Now, normally this, I think, would really hurt us, because I like Raffl. I think he's a very good player. But we have Joel Farabee in the background there. A young kid, has shown, glimpses of talent. So it's time for the little guy to step up into the big leagues here, especially in the playoffs now. So I don't think it'll be too big of a loss. I mean, it is a big loss, but I think Farabee will be able to bridge that gap a little bit. So, other news, moving on from hockey, was announced Monday. The XFL has been bought by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and a couple other people that are investors. Now, he is, I think I saw, it was only like a 30% minority owner. His ex-wife, who takes care of his movie career, wrestling career, all that stuff, she's actually the majority owner of this. And they teamed up with Redbird Capital to help buy the XFL for $15 million. That's the most surprising part for me, is that it was $15 million. Very, very cheap. To me, there's a lot of red flags about this deal, I think. Now, a few weeks ago, Vince McMahon, said in a court document that he did think about repurchasing the league through bankruptcy, but decided not to, just because he lost so much money with bringing the XFL back. Obviously, Dwayne Johnson is a former wrestler for WWE / WWF, or whatever you want to call them, and makes you wonder, is there a backdoor deal going on here? Did Vince contact The Rock and his wife or ex-wife and say, hey, I'll give you the guys the money, go buy it, run it for a little bit, I'll buy it off you in a couple years? It's far-fetched, but there is a claim out there, set up basically by the creditors committee, worrying about that, because they felt like they could have got a lot more money for the league, and they don't have proof that this backdoor deal might be happening. But they have a good point of, in a world of 7 billion people, what is the chances that a former associate of Vince McMahon buys the league? Now, there's a hearing Thursday to basically approve or disapprove the sale. I don't think the creditors have basically a leg to stand on. I think this is going to go through. And thing with this time around, with The Rock and his ex-wife and this Redbird Capital running it, the one quote that Danny Garcia, The Rock's ex-wife, kind of scares me was the fact that when asked, who's going to run it, she said that she'll have some kind of executive position in the organization, but also noted that she has a lot of professional commitments. She's a bodybuilder, plus television and movie productions. She expects The Rock to be going back to filming movies soon. And then Redbird Capital is more of an investment group than, people that have been involved in sports leagues and know how to run them. The only small part that she was quoted in saying was that she gave Vince McMahon's former executive team a vote of confidence. So it sounds like she may bring those guys back. The only person that doesn't sound like that will be back is Oliver Luck, which I would have laughed if she brought back. Obviously, Luck is suing Vince McMahon right now for wrongful termination. Now, also too, she was asked, would there be any change in the way the league is ran or any rules, etc.? And she was quoted saying, I think there was a lot to build on, not so much a matter of changing it. Any format change would be because of COVID-19. That would be the reason. The roots and the bones of what were there were excellent. I like the speed of play. I love the access. I think there is probably some elegance that can be added so that maybe it's not as disruptive. But being in the box when they're reviewing the calls and reviewing the penalties, those were moments when you really felt that you were with and knew the players. So that was amazing to bond with that football experience. There was a lot of great work. It's the opportunity to say, okay, that was fantastic. How do we make it 10 times better? That's the thing. I think 90 to 95% of what the XFL did worked. And if COVID didn't hit, I think they would have lasted the whole season. I know, a couple of teams like the DC Defenders, they were garbage. I know there's a couple teams that the Viper, was it the Vipers? Los Angeles Vipers, they were garbage, but the Battlehawks, they had a huge following. The Roughnecks were a very good team, so I mean, they definitely had good enough product, I believe, to keep it going, and they wanted to keep the league going for the next 3 years. Now, the thing that they don't have right now, Danny Garcia, the XFL, is they have no television rights in place yet. That's huge. We've seen that with the XFL on Fox, on ABC, the major networks they were on. We've seen what didn't work with the AFL league. You can't be putting them on TNT or, a lot of people out there don't have satellite or cable or whatever it is. Everybody uses, an antenna, like myself. I'll admit it. I don't have DirecTV or anything like that, but that's how I watched the XFL. Was on my antenna because ABC is channel 16 for us. Fox is Fox 56 for us. That is a major. That to me is more than half the battle to make a spring football league work. And when I was reading this article, this follow-up, made a good point. There hasn't been a successful spring league in over 50 years. Even NFL Europe, as much as I keep bringing it up and saying that was, a good developmental league, it folded within, 2 years? Yeah, you got a couple of good players out there, but it folded. It wasn't able to stick around. Speaking of stick around, they asked about would there be football next year? And they wouldn't comment yes or no, but basically said it is in the conversation right now to try to pull something out. But with COVID going on right now, with no fans being able to come to games, it's going to be tough. Now, probably the only positive to come out of this, if they were to have a football season next year, is the possibility of a lot of college players playing in it. Because we already saw, I think it was late last night or early this morning, the UConn football team canceled their football season, and there possibly could be other teams. Now, granted, Notre Dame joined the ACC for this year, but the fact that there's only going to be conference type games, it's going to be tough to have players want to keep playing. And we're already seeing a couple players from, Florida State, Miami, the Pac-12 players are threatened to sit out. And if they were to sit out, they could join the XFL in the spring, play their games, and join the 2021 NFL draft, and hopefully get drafted just like Kenny Robinson from the Battlehawks did. He got drafted in the 5th round by the Panthers. I think that would be a strong possibility for college players to get some playing time in there before the draft, and that'd be a good way to get playing tape for themselves as well. Because if they don't play this year, I mean, hopefully COVID is either gone or at its weakest point by the time next spring comes. Definitely it would benefit those players to join the XFL. Now, my last thing I will say about the XFL is, do I think it will work this time around? Well, like I said, if they keep with the same setup they had going and they get the TV deals back, I can't see why it won't work. We've seen it work. It's just that, unfortunately, COVID hit at the wrong time for the XFL. If they had 15, 20 years into it and had money saved up, and just maybe they would have been able to work through this like baseball and hockey and all that. But unfortunately, it was only 5-6 games in and they had to shut it down. Now, I also think too, even if COVID isn't still around, to help themselves get off the ground running, and this was kind of the article too, was kind of do like a bubble city for the XFL. Still have 4, 5, 6 teams, but only play in 1 or 2 cities. That would that would bring down the cost in travel expenses and insurance, probably all that stuff. Have the East Coast team play the East Coast, West Coast team play the West Coast, and have the East versus West for the XFL championship. Just till you get, some eyes on back on the league and grow it, and eventually, maybe you could split it out to different cities. So hopefully XFL does work out, because like I said, I did enjoy it. So a little bit of Eagles talk here. Got announced Sunday, Doug Peterson tested positive for COVID. Now, he's not showing any symptoms. He's asymptomatic. And as of right now, he is at home, leading the team virtually as much as he can. But while he is not allowed in the facility, Deuce Staley is taking over the head coaching job for right now. Our quarterbacks coach was sent home, Press Taylor, because he was in close proximity of Peterson. Even though Press Taylor didn't test positive, he actually came back with a negative result. But they're just being careful with everything. Now, obviously, it's not good that he tested positive, Peterson. But if there was a time test positive, is now, because the season didn't even start yet. So hopefully he'll get better soon. And the thing is, too, is even if this was during the season, I think the team would be in capable hands with Deuce. I've been yelling for Deuce to have a head coaching job for a couple years now, even an offensive coordinator job. I can't believe he hasn't had an offensive coordinator job yet. I really think he deserves it with Philly. And a lot of people say, well, why? Just because he's a legendary Eagles running back? No. Look at the coaches he learned from. Andy Reid. He played for Andy Reid. He coached with Andy Reid. He coached underneath Peterson, obviously, right now. And when I say he coached under Chip Kelly, I mean there were probably some good things he got from Kelly, and a lot of things he got from Kelly that he knows not to do, because other than the first year, Chip Kelly was right up there with Rich Kotite. So I think he's well overdue for a shot. If this was during the season and he took over for 2 weeks, 14 days, whatever Peterson has to be away, I think that would open up a door for him to get an interview in the offseason. I would hate to see him go, but I love Deuce. I hope he gets at least an offensive coordinator job at some point, just to get his foot in the door and then be able to knock it down and get a head coaching job. So a little fight talk, and I had to bring this up. I'm not sure if you guys seen, but Page Van Zant is in talks with, yes, Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, BKFC, the one I'm always talking about. What is she thinking? Like, seriously. her last fight was her last fight for her contract, so she's a free agent. She wasn't that good at UFC. Now, granted, it's mixed martial arts compared to basically just boxing. But even when she was standing, she got picked apart. She got destroyed. And bare knuckle is just what it says. Bare knuckle, there's no boxing gloves. It's just knuckles. What is... I don't understand what she's thinking here. But the news broke by Mike Russell late last week that Page Van Zant is close to finalizing a deal. But then Eric Colwell of MyMMAnews.com, who also works for BKFC, responded with that preliminary talks were underway, but nothing was close. I pray that they don't sign her. It'll be a murder if they sign her, because if she signed for bare knuckle, BKFC 1, the very first one, maybe she might do okay. But now the talent is starting. You're starting to see the talent come in now, and they'll just pick her apart. God, I hope they don't sign her. Honestly, she's better off just going to Bellator or one championship where the talent is a little bit, not to put them down, but a little bit less than UFC. But God, I just hope she's not that stupid. So before we go, there's a UFC fight night this weekend, and it is main evented by Derek Lewis and Alexei Oleinik. Two of my favorite fighters. It's going to be tough for me to pick between those two guys. I mean, as of right now, this point, because I've been flip-flopping all week, I'm going with Derek Lewis. I like Derek Lewis. I don't know if he can beat him, though. I mean, the old guy is just tricky, like you don't, and he can take a punch, so it's going to be interesting. But so here's the rundown of the fight card, the main card. So you got Derek Lewis versus Alexei Oleinik for the main event. The co-main event is Chris Weidman versus Omari Akhmedov. Before them, you got Darren Stewart versus Maki Pitolo. Then we have a women's bantamweight fight with Yana Kunitskaya versus Julija Stoliarenko. Sorry if I butchered your name. I know I butchered your name, but the fight will be kicked off with a lightweight fight between Benel Durish versus Scott Holtzman. And it's also taking place at the Apex Center. So this should be a good fireworks card, I think. I mean, just Chris Weidman alone, he's going to get knocked out. I don't even know how he's still a co-main event. This may be his last fight. If he gets knocked out or loses, the retirement talk, I think, is going to start getting louder and louder and louder. But to get my picks, the first fight, Benel Durish versus Scott Holtzman. I like Durish. His last fight was a very gritty fight. From what I remember, I think he was getting picked apart the first and part of the second round, and just came back and won it. So I'm going with Durish there. Then a women's bantamweight fight, I'm gonna go with Yana Kunitskaya. Honestly, I mean, I can't really remember if I seen her fight. If I seen a picture of her, I probably would remember then. So obviously my pick is just gonna be a shot in the dark there. After that, we have the middleweight fight, Darren Stewart versus Meki Pitolo. I'm gonna go with Darren Stewart there. And then, like I said, co-main event, Chris Weidman, he's getting knocked out. I could see even the first round. So obviously I'm going Omari Akhmedov there. Derek Lewis versus Alexei Oleinik. I want Derek Lewis to win, because I think if he loses one more fight, his aspirations at a title shot are over. But I'm gonna go with Alexei Oleinik, and I think he's gonna get Lewis in one of those chokes he does. I don't even know what they're called. Like, he basically crushes your windpipe type deal. So hopefully, if I don't have work Saturday or Sunday morning, I'll live tweet with you guys. I know the past couple times I've been saying I would do it, but work came about. If I can't live tweet or whatever, maybe I'll just do a quick live video before the fights or even the next day. So to follow me, the show I should say, head over to Twitter, ST Sports Podcast. Follow us there, as well as our Facebook page. Like and share that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and head over to our website, staytunesports.net. Even if you guys go over there, the links to all our socials are there. Click on the merchandise, look around, want to buy something, it'd be a good, nice birthday gift for your kids. There's nothing vulgar or anything like that. So, till next time, this is your good friend Jimbo, signing out.